So Barbara just got in, but
Actually, it's Travis here. Hey,
oh,
Jack.
Travis. Okay, great. I'm so glad it's you because I think this is more your bailiwick, but good. Do you have a camera?
No, my camera's broken right now. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we can't see you, but can you see us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good, because that means we can use screen sharing if we need to. And Steve, why don't you, oh, Travis, I should tell you, I just realized a new character is being introduced into Steve's life here when he doesn't know. Travis works with Barbara Sullivan, and Travis does the website work. So he works with Club Express on the website. And I believe, are you located in St. Louis, Travis?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so and Barbara's located in New Jersey. So they sort of operate in a virtual world where it appears like everything's done from St. Louis, but in fact, people work where they are.
Barbara should be jumping on pretty soon here, so just give her a couple minutes.
Yeah. So, well, I'm just wondering if there's anything. Well, Steve, why don't you give the background of how that you got a domain name and you set up sort of the framework for a potential website. I guess, could you talk to that a little bit?
Well, no, it's just an idea I had, 'cause obviously we're dealing with other villages. And it was just an idea I had to try and bring them all together, with a common, a common environment for communication, and also to try and help advance the village network.
Good morning.
Good morning. So,
Or good evening, Steve.
that's right. I always.
That'll soon be good morning.
Well, what time is it there, Steve?
Just gone 11.
Okay, well.
PM, that is.
Yeah. So anyway, Steve was just saying that he just had this idea and put this thing together. He was explaining that to Travis. So why don't you talk? Go ahead, Steve. Because I think this is really your thing, and I don't know that I even need to be involved. It's an idea that you're putting forward, but why don't you take it forward as best you can?
Well, yeah, so that was just an idea. As I say, we're dealing with villagers all the time, and that just seemed a way to advance the village network and to get them communicating with each other. Well, that was just my idea, really.
So were you thinking that this would be a service that would be under the auspices of the central office of the village to village network, or would it be?
No, I didn't know anything about the village to village network until you spoke to Barbara, whoever it was you spoke to.
So you didn't know about that when you put the website?
No, I didn't know anything about that at all.
Oh, well, that's interesting, because I assumed you've been out on the internet and had discovered that there's this organization.
No, I hadn't looked any. I just, we were just, dealing with villagers, and I just thought it was a good way to get them together, and also to provide the service of creating individual websites for them.
Okay, well then, by way of background, Steve's done some work for me with some other organizations developing websites and automated membership handling. I guess the current buzzword is robotic process automation. I don't know whether you knew that term, Steve, but that's a new term that's coming on. But basically, you've set it up so that membership is sort of seamlessly managed. And so I first got to know Steve when I was looking for a membership administration system for another organization. And he offered the possibility to have what we would call tailor-made membership systems at a very low cost. So I explored that, and that's how I got to know Steve. And the low cost is a result of his having retired to Thailand and then having his much of his retirement blow up in the 2008 debacle, and so he had to supplement what income was left with that. But he married a Thai woman, and he moved to Thailand, where the cost of living is lower than in the United Kingdom. So that's how I got to know him, and he did a very good job with this membership. And the main thing that was nice about it was that people joined and were accepted automatically, and the whole administration, the billing and all of that flows pretty in an automated world, so it doesn't require a lot of administrative effort by any individual. The difficulty I had when I went to join the North County Village, which is a sort of a nascent village here in North County, San Diego, the system said, well, you have to be approved. And so I never got approved. So I never became a member. And then eventually I just, out of curiosity, sent them a donation of $50, and suddenly they said, well, you're a member. And so I realized that there was some difficulty there, because they only have 8 members after they've been a village for probably 3 years, and they've got 8 members. So I went to their advisory board, and sort of the gist of the discussion there was, well, would anybody like to go on a bird walk? So, and I think this is probably fairly typical. So I was trying to get them a website where they could do a member solicitation, and the membership could without it hitting this barrier of approval. So that's the background. And then I guess Steve on his own saw that this is something that, might be replicated. So you can pick it up from there, Steve, or is there something you want to show us, or what do you think that, the last thought though.
Hey, Jack, I'm just wondering if it'd be helpful for Steve for us to explain a little bit about Village to Village Network and kind of let him know what we do.
I think it would. Now, before I surrender the floor totally, it occurred to me, right now, you sort of promote Club Express or Helpful Village, but I think your system's agnostic, if I read it. But you've got close working relationships with Club Express, I would assume.
Well, yeah. Before we go into that, I'll explain our role. We actually bought the rights of the Village module back in 2010. The network did. So yes, we're on Club Express, but we operate under the auspice of Club Express. We don't promote either one over the other. Unfortunately, they made our bed and we're lying in it. Don't you think, Travis?
Yeah, I would just basically say that we do not promote either Club Express or Helpful Village. Those just happen to be the 2 software companies that have risen to the surface as, companies that most villages use. There are some villages that don't use either of those, in fact.
Yeah, well, I think this North County Village now is one, because they're working now with Steve, and they've given notice to Helpful Village, because Helpful Village just wasn't really meeting their needs, because they didn't get the growth. So it occurred to me that Village to Village Network could offer a system as a member benefit. You know, there'd be a buy-in or something, but it'd be under the village auspices rather than being a separate business. And then it could run alongside these other things and still be agnostic, but it would mean that there'd be a home. So when I saw what Steve had done, just to be totally candid, now I got out of the way, when I first saw this, I don't know what the prototype website that Steve had thrown together, I thought, oh, that could be a very good opportunity for Village to Village Network.
Mhm.
And I'd met you, Barbara, in San Diego, and then I also on some Zoom, which is how I knew you were
Right.
you function on Zoom like the rest of us. I love Zoom.
Right.
Zoom is creating a better world. So with that, I'll shut up.
Travis, why don't you, first of all, I have to say, I'm not married. I'm sure my board of directors would, cringe if we ever left Club Express, but it's certainly out of the corner of my eye looking to see how we could expand and, like you said, Jack, give value to our villages. And, I've talked to several people that I've known in the industry, somebody in DC who wants to start a directory. He runs a publication that's parent company is the Washington Post.
Mhm.
So, the value proposition of why join the network is always in the foremost of my brain.
Mhm.
So it is, Steve, it was a very simple website to use. I liked it. Whereas I find Helpful Village and Club Express a little bit complicated sometimes, Travis can tell you. And you don't even see the back office end. I spent the better part of a half an hour trying to correct a financial thing this morning that a village did. It's just very convoluted, but the bottom line is we still need that back office support system, reporting system, that type of thing in order to run even our network, donations, database. Travis, I'll let you go and talk.
Okay, so and just a little background, the really the only reason our website is hosted by Club Express is because they were basically the only game in town at the time when we were getting started, or at least they offered a lot more than anything else around at the time. And so we basically just, that's the short answer of why we are on Club Express to this day. So I have a lot of thoughts in mind. I don't even know where to begin here, but just looking at what at Steve's site and what's being proposed here, and Steve not knowing that we existed, we basically exist to connect villages. That's our very role. We do connect villages. Our villagers communicate every day through our forums. We host webinars where they communicate with each other. We host a national conference where they get together in person. We are the national organization formed by villages for that very purpose. So I'm not really sure if you're proposing starting another like Helpful Village or Club Express type company where you would get villages as clients and basically create their website. I'd be totally cool with that. I'm a little bit hesitant if you're trying to be another village to village network, because I don't know if you're trying to reinvent the wheel. I don't think you are, but I just don't think you knew that we existed. And so I just wanted to basically kind of clarify where you're coming from, Steve.
Well, let me just jump in quickly with one thing. I mentioned that I've worked with Steve on other organizations. One of the challenges that Steve has is that he's kind of a techie, and he's a loner, and he doesn't have backup. So it occurred to me that Travis could provide that role where you guys could partner, because you sort of have a similar interest, and you could come up with something that would serve the membership better than that experience that I described. There shouldn't be barriers to becoming a member of a village. It ought to be seamless. So we
Okay,
want to.
well, can I jump in 1 second, Jack? And you're talking about an experience you had trying to join a village, not trying to join V2V network. Is that correct?
Well, I did have that to a lesser degree with Village to Village Network, but I think Barbara sort of when it went through. But that's a separate question.
Okay, so I'll just explain, like, the approval process. We do actually want to be able to look at people who want to become a village, and we kind of research them and approve them before we give them access, because we have a lot of valuable resources on our website. So we can't just allow anyone who puts up $150 to go and access all of our resources, because they could likely steal it. They could likely copy it. They could, we don't know. So we like to basically check them out a little bit before we then go ahead and give them full access to our website. And that's kind of why that security quote barrier is there. And really all it is gives us a chance to kind of look at who's trying to join, and then normally it's no problem and we provide access straight away. But there are occasions when people try to join and we're like, this doesn't seem kosher, and then we just won't approve them. And I imagine it's kind of the same for some villages. Maybe, villages can't provide services for all people. If you're a person who really should be heading to the nursing home, a village is not really for you. I mean, it's not everything for everyone. What we say, it fills a niche. It fills a gap. So, I don't know. Those are just some random thoughts. I'm trying to. There's, like I said, so many things going on, Jack. But I don't know if that. I understand Club Express is not super user friendly. That is very true.
Neither is Helpful Village.
Neither is Helpful Village. They all have these kinds of
Well,
challenges.
they're very similar. I find they're very similar in the way they've approached the thing. I suspect Helpful Village took a look at Club Express along the way, and
I
this.
assume they did. Yes.
Yeah. So, by the way, I think the way the conversation's going is perfect, because this is so brand new that it's very inchoate at this point. So I don't think anybody really has an axe here going.
No.
So we're sort of having a general conversation.
And I think we would be open to a different approach of our website. I mean, I got to tell you, we'd love to throw our website out the door. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm totally open for that, Barbara. That's true.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to shut Steve down at all. I'm just saying, basically, if he wasn't aware that we were out there, I just want to make him aware that we do offer these kinds of services, even though our current platform is not super user friendly.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I found with Club Express, because you have to go through about 6 or 7 screens before you can even become register for a member, and the screens are not user friendly. You have to select so many different options, and the text is very small, which is not ideal for the aging population. And I think under ADA, I think Club Express could come under some issues as well, because they're actually going around prosecuting nearly everybody at the moment for ADA. So I try to incorporate in all my offerings for the villages and things is, screens they can read easily, things that they only need to do one step to actually become a member. So it's just one page of information, that's it. And in the actual websites themselves, again, they're designed to be easy to read. And now I've started including what do you call it, Userway, which is a disability type enhancement where they can change the screen contrast, they can change the text size, they can have it read to them, and so on and so forth, so that that will adapt to the older population who may have some difficulty reading, may have some difficulty seeing at all. They can actually manage the website without having to use a magnifying glass or whatever.
Right.
So that's my approach, is to create websites that are accessible.
I understand all that, but the very reason that most villages use those two platforms is because of all the various features that they have, such as their database management, they take payments on there, all
Mine do the same.
Okay.
You can take your subscriptions via mine. It will automatically renew every year, so you don't have to manage it in any way. All right, you might want to chase up the ones that don't renew because they cancel their subscription or whatever. But apart from that, everything is automated. So the other thing I found with Club Express is that they're very expensive as well.
Well, Helpful Village is more expensive.
It's even more expensive. I haven't seen Helpful Village.
No, Club Express actually is less expensive than Helpful Village.
But it's still around.
And there's a discount, so to speak, with Club Express.
Helpful Village is commonly used by people who find Club Express too cumbersome and difficult. And like Barbara said, Helpful Village is not super user-friendly either, but it's actually more user-friendly probably than Club Express, but with that comes a premium cost.
The other component, which just between us, worries me a little bit with Helpful Village, and it's something maybe Steve you can address, is the backup help support. Club Express has been in existence for I don't know how many years, not just through the villages, but through their various clubs. The module for the village was, like I said, established, well into. So they have a whole support team and backup system. So that's a plus. I'm not seeing it with Helpful Village. And it could be there, but they are newbies. They've only been on the market for about, what, Travis, almost 3 years, if 3 years. So there is still that.
I know that Jack kind of proposed that maybe I could join forces with Steve and help, but I'm not a coder. I know basic HTML, which helps me, clunk around in Club Express. But aside from that, I cannot really offer you any assistance as far as, so, I mean, if you were going to pursue doing a thing where you're going to start this for villages, you would, you're going to need probably some help. Because like Barbara said, I think Manuel at Helpful Village has maybe 5 staff now. I don't really know. He has a handful of people.
Well, you have within the Village to Village network, you've already started building sort of a virtual organization. We were talking about this before Barbara hopped on here, but because you've got an office in St. Louis, but Barbara's in New Jersey, and that works out fine, particularly in this wonderful age of Zoom, where you can actually get people's body language as things go along. I love Zoom. But so it occurs to me that if this were to go somewhere, it could be a village to village network undertaking, could be continued. The challenge that Steve ran into with another organization was the proponent for Club Express, actually, they went to Club Express, started saying, well, what happens if Steve dies? So they were concerned that Steve might parish on us. And
That's a little morbid, but okay, go ahead.
well, that was sort of the.
I haven't got that planned at the moment.
I know, right?
Steve, we hope you're in good health.
Well, you've dealt with this demographic enough to know that sometimes the politics can become fierce and wonderful. But anyway, so that became a factor there. So it occurred to me that if this is within the framework, so if you've got somebody like Travis who's there, if something were to happen to Steve, he'd find the resources to continue the thing.
Well,
And-
I have some people also that I can, well, not palm off, but transfer the work to, and they're actually all in the US as well, because I work with several people in the US, doing things for them and so on and so forth. So
Barbara, wow!
You taught me that, Jack.
Found a virtual background.
That's my backyard.
Yeah, well, this is mine as well. But so I mean, that wouldn't be an issue. But plus, I know some very good programmers which will soon jump in and take over the work. I mean, so that's not a problem. I got that covered, anyway.
So
Yeah.
okay, so where does that get?
So another concern, not a concern, but basically just something I'm thinking about is, I mean, we already get accused a lot of basically playing favorites. We get accused by Club Express people for playing favorites for Helpful Village and vice versa all the time. So if we were to do this, I can just see an issue with that. I don't know if Barbara, you have any thoughts on that? How we could avoid something like, I mean, we're not married
I
to
like that,
one
Steve.
company, but
What I think that we promote is what's best for the village network. And I'm always open to competition. I feel like bring it on to Dan Ehrman and Manuel. This is an area which is ripe for picking. And I think villages are looking for that. They're looking, and I think, my board is looking for that. They're looking for easier access, more user-friendly. Like Jack said, we are a virtual office. And yes, Travis is in St. Louis. We have a staff member in North Carolina. So making it easy on my staff and in the network, I'm all for it.
yeah, I think there are many villages out there who are looking for something other than Club Express or Helpful Village. So you probably could get some success, if you start getting a couple villages on board, and doing their website, and so people can kind of see how
Have an
your system
exploratory.
works. Exactly. That's what I would recommend personally. But
Well,
I had another thought that went out of my mind, but go ahead,
I
Jack.
think you can say, I think you can offer a service and still be agnostic and not particularly, because it's up to the people in the individual village how they want to work with that. So it would have to be something that where your specialization allows it to become something different. I mean, Club Express started as something for clubs, obviously, and I think Steve here is thinking specifically. Well, the very fact he took this initiative to get to the fact to where we're having this conversation, I think shows that he's kind of intrigued by the village concept. And
While you're there, I mean, the other thing I would like to do is to try and help to promote this worldwide, because I think the concept is good. It allows people to live in their own homes rather than going into homes and whatever you want to call it, sheltered accommodation or whatever. And it's something that's needed throughout the world, not just in the US.
And we're finding that.
I come from the UK, and the problems with old people, what they call old people's homes in the UK, which are like a community in one building virtually, that should be extended to use for villages as well. Every village in the UK has got a big quantity of older people living in their own homes, so they could become villagers, in this sense of the word, instead of just villagers.
And we do have a few, I'd say a handful of international villages who are members of V2V Network currently.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Several in Canada. British Columbia is really all over it. And then there's
Mhm.
several in Australia.
I also kind of want to mention, Steve, I know and I'm not trying to poke holes in anything, but I'm not crazy about your name, the Village Network, because I don't want anyone to be confused, basically. But I don't know what, we have a couple villages who kind of use, I don't know, there might be one called the Village Network, actually. But,
Well, all the domain names virtually were used,
right.
because I wanted to get villagenetwork.com, but that's a children's network, which
Oh,
is,
really?
and then there was village.net, and there was all the other domain names, and there was only 2 left, and I think one of them was the one I got, which was the village.network, and there was one other which I think was it village.co or something like that, the village.co, which is normally associated with China, actually, for some reason or other. Most of the CEOs are in China.
Right. I just hate for there to be any sort of confusion. I know you didn't know about us initially, but
No, because that didn't, because yours is village to village network. I looked for domain names that started with the village, and say they were all taken apart from the .network.
Well, what would be the next step? I'm guessing that it would be to put Steve in contact with Travis and let them go back and forth a little bit. But
I think that the ball is in your court, Steve, and we're very open to discussion on how to move forward and how you want to move forward with this. Whether it's to individual village, do a pilot program, do it as an offshoot of the network. If you can put a proposal together for me so that I can actually give it to my board of directors, that would be very helpful.
I don't want to step on anybody's toes, obviously.
No, right.
But what I thought, and then after Jack said about yourselves, well, I thought that we can work together to enhance the situation, and try and provide a more complex, complex choice for the villagers. If they don't want to use Club Express or the village,
I like that.
whatever the other one was, then we are a good alternative.
Right.
And I can build their sites how they want them, not how Club Express want you to have it, or whatever the other one was. And if they want just a 2-page site or a 1-page site, or and they only want to include certain things, they don't want to include membership, or they do want to include membership, and so on, I can tailor it to meet whatever they want, rather than what like Club Express demand that you're going to have it as. So I can be completely flexible on what each village gets for their website. And as I said, the sign-up procedure is much simpler than it is on Club Express. I can give you a quick example. If I just share my screen. Whoops, see that? Put down there. I don't know, what am I looking at? I mean, the registration page is very, very simple. It's just a first name, last name, email, address, telephone or mobile, and then whether they want to receive the newsletters. These options can be just removed at one click of a button if they don't want to use that. And then they select a user ID and a password, and select one of the membership options. In this case, we only have one option at the moment. And then they can either pay the initial payment only and then renew it every year, or they can create a subscription which will automatically be taken every 12 months. And that's it. That's the whole registration process. With Club Express, you have to go through about 7 pages to get to that point where you're going to then start taking the money. And I noticed with one membership system, they then had to pass them off to someone else to take the payment, whereas this one just goes through, in the one step. So, that's how simple I try to make everything. So that the actual person using the site only needs one click for virtually every step of the way, 1 to 2 clicks maximum, but and 1 to 2 pages maximum, so that to get to what they want to get to. It's gone quiet.
No, I'm just
Wonderful. No,
thinking.
we're just absorbing. Yes.
I know it. And I was thinking about, let me share Club Express real fast. So let me log out of my account. So here's your Club Express, the network stuff.
Now
So
this
is our
higher level, because you're at the all villages level, whereas he started with.
I'm at the all village level. So if somebody pulls up our website, this is our website.
Yeah.
Here is, so on the main website is join, member sign up. You can select membership type as,
But right away there, the appearance suddenly shifts. So, it's a little disconcerting. And I find that's common with Club Express and Helpful Village, where they go in and they seem to have the database functions in a separate area or something almost. It is a little, clunky is, I guess, was that the word you used? Somebody's called it clunky. It just,
Well, I find it very difficult to read because it's very small too.
This is very small. I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
but anyway, I suggest that we have Steve work with Travis and see if it goes anywhere.
I'm open to that. Travis, you okay with that?
I am. I'm not sure what working with me means, but I'd be happy to look at whatever you present. I don't know what I can do for you, but we are basically aside from our part-timer, myself and Barbara are running the show here. So we don't have a lot of spare time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
Well, I understand that. I think the main thing I've experienced, and what I'm really suggesting, Travis, is that you take on the role with Steve that I've taken with some of these other entities. There are little things that come up. For example, in the UK, the word for tailor-made is bespoke. So he said, I can give you, when I first knew him, he said, I can give you a bespoke website. Well, I had no idea what the hell that meant. And then I went out and looked and found out that it meant what we call tailor-made or custom-made. And then I found out that apparently it's a perfectly good word with upper class Americans. They actually use this word bespoke, which I guess I'm not upper class enough to have encountered it. So there are little nuances of experience. For example, he was talking earlier about how you register members. And I was trying to think, I don't think that's quite what we say, but I couldn't think off the top of my head what it is we do say for that. Maybe register is, yeah, I mean, we certainly understand it, but so there are little things like that, and matters of appearance. I happen to like very light backgrounds, and Steve's been moving toward that. There are aesthetic things that pop in. So I think that's sort of, he just needs somebody to react to what he puts together. And
Well, and I'd be
Yeah,
happy
I'd be
to
happy do
participate.
that.
Yeah.
For sure.
And Steve, we have Zoom, so we can, do more than 40 minutes and more than 2 people. So just
Oh,
like
yeah.
check.
well,
But-
yeah, Steve could probably do that. It's $149 a year, Steve. So even in Thai baht, that's not a lot.
Well,
So-
like I said, I think the next steps, what I'd like to see, Steve, is something written that what you're formalizing or trying to do on behalf or for the network or in conjunction with the network, so that we can move forward with the ideas you have put together and the website and the materials that you're working on. I think it's a great opportunity for us to expand. As I said before, a little competition for the other yo-yos out there who are,
Mhm.
territorial, to say the least. But it's a new year, and we look to expand always. And as you said, Steve, our goal is to scale the movement. And what better way is to have opportunities like what you're doing to advance it.
Yeah, I think the website is really a critical part in the formation of a village. Once you get beyond that, I mean, I've learned an awful lot from Barbara Achenbaum, for example, up in, I don't know, I'm probably not pronouncing it right. I speak German, so her name, I remember her name because her last name is the German word for oak tree. So Achenbaum, but Aschenbaum, she probably pronounced it Aschenbaum. But anyway, I've learned from her and from the Capitol Hill village, who they seem to be farther along. And the people in San Luis Obispo seem to be, so they're,
We
I
have
think,
a lot, yeah. We have a lot of techies out there that are very interested, and the ones that jump on the webinars and the ones that participate on some of the user groups. And they are advancing beyond what Club Express and Helpful Village is doing. So
exactly. So
we
I
do
think,
have folks out there in the network that are interested in.
so I think that's another
next
area
steps.
where Travis could steer him to say, well, this is a functionality that we need. Because what Steve does that I can't, I can do some simple coding of websites, but I just do it because it's easier sometimes to do it than to ask to have something done. But what he does really well is these database functions where, the maintaining the administrative information that you need to feed your accounting. And that can become a nightmare.
That's the one area I have to say, and so Steve, I ran a village for almost 10 years. I was on their board before I took over the national. And these 2 other outfits organizations, they promote that you need to have the software in order to open your village. What villages need is a simple first step. And the database is the one thing we needed. We needed a function. I didn't need the financial function. I didn't need the reporting. I didn't need the interactive, component where volunteers can log in. I needed a simple database to have the village run. And then you expand the modules as you need it, or the components.
Mhm.
Because
Well,
most village,
Sorry.
no, that's all right.
Well, that's one of my philosophies as well, is that you make it so that all the hard stuff or difficult stuff is done in the background, whereas because the user doesn't know how a database works, or how this works, or how that works. And Club Express, it looks as though you're having to do all the input for their database. You know, that doesn't seem to be able to make decisions based on what you've put in. And what I try to do is make it simple, so that, you know, at the click of one button, that will work out exactly what it needs to do, what it needs to add to the database. Will update the date of, you know, expiry date, everything automatically, and so on when you renew. You don't have to, you know, you don't, even if you renew 3 months early, that will still give you the right expiry date and so on. But with Club Express, so, you know, from what I saw of the bits I could see, you were having to do all that stuff up front instead of it being done for you in the background. And that my philosophy has always been, you keep it simple. You know, KISS is my
I'm totally in agreement with you.
my favorite phrase, which is, you know, keep it simple, stupid.
Right. And I couldn't agree with you more. And that's why I said these young villages don't have the financial resources to pay the big bucks. They need a simple database that they can start operations a little bit easier, a website that's user-friendly, and it's all one package. It's all one, you know, thing. Yeah, so I think there's a market out there for a lot of our villages.
Yeah, so some of them only want a one-page a website just to let the world know that they exist. Others want much more complex things, like the one we're currently doing at the moment. We've added a blog, we've added an automatic news system, an event system where the events will drop off as soon as the date has passed, and also online management of some of the pages so that they can go in and edit the pages without having to get me to reprogram everything. So we tried to keep, again, that as simple as possible so they can't mess it up, obviously. And it also manages all their subscriptions in the background and sends out all the renewals and everything automatically.
I like it.
So, you know, and that's all at a very small cost compared with what Club Express or whatever the other one was,
Village.
you know, would charge for the same sort of services. Plus, the thing is, there's no restriction on how many members they can have. I think with Club Express, you're charged so much per active member or current member.
Both of them do.
Yeah, well, I don't do that. You know, this is the price. End of story. You can have 1 million members, and you know you're still the same.
And I think there's a huge market for that, Steve. I really do.
I don't believe in well, in England we would say screwing people. You know,
we say it here in the United States also.
All right, okay.
A lot.
Sometimes we're more blunt than that.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm a Jersey girl. Are you kidding? Really?
Yeah, I
I'm a
tried to
Jersey
get value
boy,
from
by
that.
the way. I think I told you that I'm a Jersey boy. So
Yep.
Oh, there's a group called the Jersey Boys, isn't there?
Yeah,
Well,
there is.
there is. That's
Frankie
different.
Valley.
That's it. Frankie Valley and the Jersey Boys.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, have we gone as far as we can go?
I think we've done it, and I appreciate the time, Steve. I look forward to hearing from you.
Okay. Yeah.
And Jack, thanks for setting it up.
Okay, and I'm going to now. I guess I have the power to end it for all of us. So I will.
Happy
now
New Year.
My
Thanks,
power.
Jack.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Happy New
Steve.
Year to everybody.
Yeah. Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye now.
Bye now.